Come on, hello everyone. I hope you are well. Today we're going to talk about Arbitrum. Since this morning, right now I have just doubled my position on Arbitrum by reloading heavily to 52 cents. And so I have made it go from about 0.85% to 1.7% currently. And so quite simply in this video, I will show you why I reloaded quite heavily on it and why I think we are on a great entry point to reposition ourselves. So first of all, I will show you some data on Arbitrum, and normally, if you have been following me for a long time, well, since this launch, I have always invested in Arbitrum. So it's true that in terms of the chart, it's quite disappointing, and that's why it's been a while since I've recharged on it, simply because it was launched around a $15, $1.20, that was in March 2023. And on the side of the historical stats, so we had 180H on it in January at $2.40. Which means that now we are at minus 77%, so it's really a big correction, and we hit a bottom on it at the beginning of August. So during the correction that we had on the whole market, and this bottom, it was at 43 cents, so we'll come back to it later. But already graphically, we have a rebound, which is still pretty good, so with 1 plus 25% compared to the bottom. So even if it's true that it's not one of the most dynamic either.
And we know that
Anyway, it has nothing to do with other cryptos. What have they done plus 50% or even done times 2 or more since the beginning of August? But plus 25%, that's not to be neglected either. And for me, it still shows that there is a small return of momentum on Arbitrum. So on the stats side, we currently have a market cap of a little less than $2 billion, exactly $1.95 billion this morning. And on the other hand, we have a valuation after dilution that is already more than $5 billion. So I know that this is one of the really negative points on Arbitrum, and which has earned it a lot of criticism since it is true that since the launch there is a valuation that is quite significant, and it is true that at the same time there is a big dilution of token, and suddenly even if it is true that in terms of price it will decrease, but finally in terms of market cap it remains globally always more or less the same thing. And there if I show you the token unlock on Ethena, and for example there in 18 hours, well there is still a new token unlock with $50 million that will be unlocked. And that's probably mainly why in terms of price since its launch, well it's true that it has had trouble taking off. So I know another point that makes Arbitrum a lot criticized is on the side of the utility of crypto. So Arbitrum, as you know, is a layer 2, but unlike other layer 2, well, on the Arbitrum network, the transaction fees are not paid with Arbitrum, but they are paid with Ethereum. And so the utility of crypto is also one of the main points of criticism. So on the blockchain data side, I'm going to show you why Arbitrum is the leader among layer 2. So if we take people in terms of number of protocols, on Arbitrum we have 710 protocols, on Polygon we have 577, on Base there are 364, on Optimism 264, and for example on Mental we have 101 protocols on the TVL side, so the total value that is blocked in all the protocols on Arbitrum, we are today at $2.3 billion. And so for the moment Base is the only competitor that manages to stand up to Arbitrum with $2.4 billion of TVL, and Ben, for example, on Optimism, we are at $664 million, so very much below. And on Mental it's the same, it's very much below with $414 million. So what I also wanted to show you, what is interesting is that on DeFi Llama, you have a ratio that is created between the market cap and the TVL. So this ratio is not a truth either, but it can allow you to see which blockchain is overvalued and which blockchain is undervalued. On Arbitrum, we have a ratio of 0.82, so that means that the total value that is blocked in all the protocols is more important than the market cap, and therefore than the total valuation of the blockchain. That is an important point, and which for me shows that Arbitrum is undervalued since if we compare with the others, then for example on Polygon we are at 1.05. So Polygon, also we can consider that it is almost undervalued, and for example on Optimism we are at 3.32, so that means that the valuation of Optimism is 3.3 times greater than the TVL, therefore than the total value that is blocked on the blockchain. And for example on Mental we are at 4.87, so that means that the market cap is almost 5 times higher than the TVL. Well, as I said, you shouldn't take it literally either. It's not true since for example on Ethereum we are at 6.49. And on Solana, for example, we are at 11.87, but in any case for me, that's still a point, which shows that Arbitrum is undervalued since among all the big blockchains, therefore layers 1 and layers 2 combined, Well, today it is the only one that has less market cap than TVL. So on the market cap side, there too for me it is largely undervalued. And overall the narrative of Layers 2, I consider that it is undervalued since in total we are at less than $20 billion of valuation. For example, on Layers 1 we are at $1,850 billion per hour of dollars from. So knowing that this takes Bitcoin into account, but even if we were to remove it, it would make a market cap of about $600 billion, so 30 times higher than on Layers 2. And if we take, for example, the narrative of the IA, well, there it is already $30 billion, so almost 50% higher than on Layers 2. So there you have it. For all these reasons, I consider in all cases that the narrative of Layers 2 is undervalued today, and at the same time I still consider Arbitrum as the best Layer 2, and as we have seen it is largely the most used. And on the graphic side, on the chart side, well, I also consider that we are probably on a low point, so with a bottom at 40 cents there on the last weeks with already on the hebdo, a nice bullish divergence of RSI. So there it shows that there is a small return of dynamics, and that there are more and more buyers who come back to Arbitrum. And then at the same time, what is not bad, what is interesting is that we have this ascending channel that has been set up since the low points of early August. And so what I did is that I took advantage of being on this bottom of the channel to buy. And there we see that it has been several days that we have come to test the bottom of the channel, so we are still on a good support. We see that it has been tested 4 or 5 times, and so what? In terms of strategy, well, what we generally try to do is to buy the supports and sell the resistances. I considered that there on the current levels we were really on a great opportunity, and so without projecting too far either, I will give you the next objectives on Arbitrum with already a first objective around $1. So there it is, simply the report of the height of the channel at the time of the break. So there it could be, why not a first level that we would go to look for at the end of the year, and the next level which also seems to me very largely achievable. Well, it is a return to $1.20, and therefore that would mean a return to the high points of the end of May, beginning of June, and at the same time a return to the 0,618 of FIBO. So there you have it, friends. That's it for this video on Arbitrum. I hope in any case that you enjoyed it. Do not hesitate to like it, to comment on it, and to subscribe to follow others.